Just waiting for us to connect online and then we can start. How are we, my wonderful people? I've got the squeaky chair again. I don't know why I did it to myself. Awesome. Okay, then, folks, we are live. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. This is going to be an awesome one. It's not going to be long. Oh, I literally started my period today and I just feel like so sick. I wanted to cancel this call because I feel like I'm close to vomiting. But we troop on because I have promised a bunch of you that I am going to do this video. I've got an epic resource to share with you guys as well, and I don't want you guys to miss out. So I'm not going to make this long because I need a nap and I feel sick. And yeah, so let's get going. Let's stop rambling, Bianca. So today I really wanted to talk about being a healthy vegan, right? So we talk a lot about being plant-based. We talk a lot about being whole food plant-based. And while this group is called the Women's Plant-Based Weight Loss Support Group, we do get a lot of people coming through the door identifying as vegan. So it's really important, first off, for me to just define the differences between plant-based, whole food, plant-based, and vegan, and potentially any other labels which you might have for me, in which case you feel free to throw at me. But just to clarify, plant-based is literally just talking about the diet. Veganism is more of an ethical and political standpoint, and whole food plant-based, again, is just a different definition of being plant-based. So just to go into uh, just to go into specifics there, vegan, when we're looking at adopting a vegan lifestyle mainly means it has to do with a lot with advocating for animal rights, for animal lives, for environmental factors and reasons. And it doesn't necessarily determine your diet. In fact, it just means that you don't consume any animal products or use animal products or use businesses, companies, or products that have even tested on animals. So I think Dove get under the firing range a lot because they potentially test on animals. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So for example, Dove products wouldn't be used by a vegan, and neither would they drink cow's milk or eat meat. Okay, so while it does determine the fact that they are avoiding food, it is mainly an advocacy, ethical standpoint, and a political standpoint whereby they are making sure that they are fighting for the rights of animal lives. Now, it's really important to put their work up on a pedestal for me because, we're all creating the same result ultimately, right? We all create a result of eliminating the use, torture, abuse, everything that goes with animal testing and using animal products. Now, of course, with every argument, there's going to be people that have a different standpoint and different take. So even though I do a lot of advocating for a plant-based diet, which means eradicating animals and animal-based foods from foods products from the lifestyle and the diet, because I didn't necessarily go vegan, let's say, for the animals, I went for the health, and then ultimately everything else came on. I actually ironically get trolled a lot on Facebook because if I post in a vegan group, they will get really angry with me that I'm not talking about the animals. Okay. Now, the problem with this, I personally find, without going into it because it's not very relevant, but I'm just going off on a tangent. The problem with this is that we're all creating the same result, and not ultimately everyone knows the difference between being plant-based, whole food, or vegan. So I just think if you are potentially someone who is fighting for animal rights, but also wants to become healthier, just bear in mind that some people want the same results, i.e., no animal products at all. However, their angle is slightly different, right? Their reasoning doesn't matter as long as we create the same result. So just bear in mind that if you state that you're vegan online or in places, it might be misconstrued a little bit. But either way, it means that you don't eat animal products. And it's perfectly fine to say whatever you feel is most useful for you and that kind of differentiates exactly what it is that you want to do. Okay. So again, veganism is more about advocating, whereas plant-based food is more about the lifestyle and more about the diet. Then we look at whole food plant-based. Okay, so whole food plant-based very much eliminates all the same as before. So all of the animal products, milk, dairy, eggs, fish, all of those things. But a whole food plant-based refers to making sure that people don't consume any processed foods. So you want to think of things like breads, white grains, pastas, things like that. Now, ultimately, we probably would all love to get to a point where we want to be whole food plant-based, right? It's going to be the healthiest that you could possibly be. However, it isn't quite realistic, okay? Pasta is awesome. Tofu is fantastically nutritious for us, incredibly versatile, and it can be incredibly delicious. But that's technically slightly processed. So while it doesn't necessarily fit, and some foods can be healthy and they don't fit under the whole food plant-based could feel a little bit restrictive for some people. Um, so a whole food plant-based, we are referring to avoiding oils, sugars, tofu, refined foods, often white grains, because they have been stripped of most of their nutrients. So that's a whole food plant-based. I say that I'm plant-based. I don't say I'm whole food plant-based, but I do say I'm predominantly whole food plant-based. Perfect example is I had a piece of sourdough bread with some mashed banana and a little bit of peanut butter for my afternoon snack today. So there is the sourdough. That's the processed foods. I mean, would you call peanut butter processed foods? I'm not too sure. Either way, you can still lead a healthy lifestyle, predominantly whole food lifestyle, and be vegan. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because it's really important just to clarify some things. I've just seen my little lammy down here. This little guy here, just seen who's behind me in the camera. I forgot to move him before I started, but there we go. There's Lammy. Everyone meet Lammy. Um, so I think it's really important for us to just know the differences, okay? Because if you post online, if you post on the group, or even if you look at this resource coming up and you think, oh, that's not for me, I don't call myself vegan. I think it's really, really important to understand that when you're speaking with me, I want you to be the healthiest version that you can be, regardless of whether you're whole foods or vegan or vegetarian, whatever. I am going to show you how to be the healthiest version of that by showing you the healthiest possible habits and behaviors that you can do. So where has all of this come from? So I made a 22-page freebie, which I'm just going to show you a picture of now. Screen share. Yeah, so I made this beast, guys. I made this beast. It's a 22-page handout. If you want this handout, please just comment the word guide on the comments, okay? And I will send you this through, right? It's huge. It's completely free, by the way. So there's so much involved in there. There's even an extra meal plan in there as well, guys. There is everything to do with nutrients, whole breakdown, kitchen hacks, movement, my top tips, my personal top tips. Hey, Katie, thanks for joining us. Meal plan, simple swap. So there's a whole bunch of things in there, but I just really wanted to capture the eye of some people who might call themselves vegan or want to be a little bit more, want to be classified as vegan or feel like they need to be classified as vegan, but are really struggling to get some healthy results or see a good transformation in their body. So if this sounds like you, if you want to become a healthy vegan or a healthy plant-based or a healthy whole food plant-based person, and you know that you want to cut out animal products, I am going to tell you what has been working for me. So since 2020, I think I've said recently that it's been 3 years that I've been plant-based, but it's been 4 years. That's how fast the time has gone. So yeah, since 2020 in January the 1st, I've been plant-based for since then. And I have been able to manage my weight so much easier, so much better. I have been able to have the most recovery and the most amount of energy that I have ever had since I have been following a lot of the tips that I'm going to tell you today. And it really is, it's just a matter of what I'm doing is I'm just simply like telling you exactly what's working for me, exactly what's working for my clients. Okay. And it's not necessarily all about the food, but there is going to be some things that we're going to cover. So I want to cover the food first. I want to get that over and done with, right? So when you choose vegan, usually and often what will happen is that we will get a dish and we'll say, okay, I want to be vegan, so I'm just going to take out the meat or the dairy or the eggs. I'm just going to take out the animal product. And what we will often do is forget to replace this. Now, what you're doing is forgetting to replace the calories and the nutrients that you were getting from the animal-based products. And so now you are consuming a diet that is probably severely lacking in those things that they provide. So when people say, oh, yeah, people go vegan and then they become nutrient deficient, it is not by default that they become nutrient deficient. It is just because when people decide to go vegan, they do not necessarily think about the food and the impact that it has on them. And why is it important? Well, if we are out there advocating for animal rights, advocating for environmental factors, if we are out there pushing the pushing this lifestyle out there to the world, showing the world how corrupt eating and consuming animal products is, showing the torture, right? All of this. If we are out there revealing the truth and explaining to everyone, especially the narrow-minded people, what they need to be doing and how they could live a healthier and more conscious life, we need that energy, we need that focus, we need that clarity, right? That's why on Monday's post I talked about this video being how to be a healthy vegan so you can get optimal output and so you can get the maximum result in the world because you are fully engaged, you've got a fully functioning mind, unlike my period brain today that I've got. You've got more energy, you've got more clarity, more focus, better memory. And what you're going to be able to do with this is have a much better impact than if you were really low on energy, feeling really lethargic, really slow, really down. Okay, so if you want to be vegan, there's no point being an unhealthy vegan because you cannot do the work that you want to do efficiently, right? It's the same as what I say really to anyone who wants to improve their health. You can't do it efficiently if you are consistently consuming foods that aren't benefiting you nutritionally. So, going vegan, what we want to do is make sure that we nail our food. We can't just take out animal-based products. We need to replace them with foods that actually give us healthy versions of the nutrients that we're pretty much taking away. Now, the good news is that most whole food plant-based foods are going to provide you with probably 99.9% of nutrients that you need. Now, what we do need to make sure is that we're having variety. So I think my top tips for today, and I say I think because I haven't brought any notes with me whatsoever. I think my top tips today for you are going to be to make sure that you are consuming enough calories, right? There's a way to be healthy, and then there's a way to feed your body. There's a way to deprive yourself, and there's a way to be healthy. And one of those is to consume enough calories. If you are consuming a lot of baked goods, you're probably consuming enough calories, but you're not consuming enough nutrients. So how are we going to do this? Well, I'd like to refer to a video that I've done before, and it's I want to go plant-based, but I don't know what to eat. I discuss all of the different key topics in nutrients. So if you want to see that, just flick me a message saying I want to see what to eat, the video on what to eat, and I can send that to you. But ultimately, what we want to do is get a good, healthy selection every single week of dark leafy green vegetables, colored vegetables, protein sources, i.e. beans, legumes, so beans and pulses, sorry, um, grains, did I mention grains? And fats. Okay, ultimately, we want to be getting something from one of those categories each individual meal. Without this, we're probably not going to have sufficient calories and sufficient nutrients. Now, on a week-to-week basis, you also want to make sure you're rotating. Okay, so my top tips here are eat enough. Make sure you are eating a variety of foods and make sure you're rotating your variety of foods to improve the variety tenfold. So, Dr. Bolshevitz talks about the 300,000 edible plants that there are on the planet. There is no need to sit there with just fake chicken, chips or potatoes and broccoli every single week, right? If you have those things or if you have your staples every single week, it is going to be boring. It is going to be difficult to enjoy these foods because you're probably cooking or making the same things. So make sure you're always rotating. Now, being a healthy vegan doesn't necessarily mean that by default, or being a vegan, sorry, doesn't necessarily mean by default that you now get to avoid healthy habits, right? That you get to avoid exercising and drinking water and managing your stress. This isn't what happens when you go vegan. When you go vegan, you still need to look after your health. You still need to look after your body. Guys, you could be eating the healthiest meal on the planet. Yet, if you are not following the guidelines that I lay out for my clients, if you're not following the ultimate guidelines, then you could easily be storing fat. So what are those guidelines? I know you're going to want to know. We need to be eating when we're actually hungry, not eating when we're not hungry. We need to be eating until we feel satisfied, not eating when we feel full. We need to be drinking plenty of water, enough to fuel our entire body and every cell within that body. We need to make sure that we get enough sleep. It can be harrowing watching videos all day long of animals suffering, but it can be absolutely devastating to the body, to your brain, to your capacity and your abilities if you do not get enough sleep. She says that and she has a yawn. That's hilarious. I literally just, I think I thought about the word sleep and then my body was like, here you go, here's a yawn. I don't know why or where that came from. But you're going to be really struggling on a day-to-day basis if you are not getting enough sleep, okay? What I'm talking about, by the way, are what I call the 5 fundamental pillars of health. You could be the healthiest vegan, you could be whole food plant-based, but if you're not ticking these boxes, you're not going to be able to do the work that you want because you won't be energized, you'll probably feel low, your memory will be crap, you'll be yawning away like I am, okay? Now, another thing that is incredibly important is movement. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I'm not a personal trainer, but I've worked very closely with a personal trainer for many, many years. And this is what the knowledge that I have learned and that I'm going to pass on to you. It is not good enough to just be doing cardio. It is not enough to just be lifting super heavy weights. What is good is a really good balance of a little bit of everything. But ultimately, you need to enjoy it, right? So whether you get your cardio in by dancing or get your cardio on by 20 minutes on the treadmill, or you go to a calisthenics class like I do, or you go to the gym and lift weights. Either way, some resistance is going to be incredibly important not just for your weight, but for your bones, for you to be able to stand back up again when you fall over as an elderly person. So while we need cardio for our heart health and for lung capacity and many other things, we also need to be doing some resistance training. This is going to strengthen our bones, our muscles, and as I said, it's going to mean that if we fall over when we're old, we're going to be able to get right back up again. And I don't know about you, but that's really important to me. Is that important to you? Hmm. So being a healthy vegan doesn't necessarily by default mean that you're going to be the healthiest that you can be. While it could potentially be a lot healthier than consuming a lot of meat, it's not a default anymore. Vegan used to be healthy. It's not now. It's a political standpoint. Whole food plant-based is by default healthy, probably the healthiest. But you need to be making sure that you're keeping on top of life and on top of things. Okay. Now, in the Healthy Vegan Guide, I'm just going to share the screen again. In the Healthy Vegan Guide, I go through and talk about supplements. I go through and talk about micro and macronutrients. These are nutrients which your body requires in different varying amounts. And I go through some of them that are the most hottest on people's lips. I talk about protein. I talk about other nutrients like iodine, B12, omega-3, calcium, vitamin D, zinc, right? I give you the ultimate guide of what kind of foods to have and how to reduce the energy that you spend in the kitchen, the time and the money that you can spend in the kitchen to become the healthiest vegan, right? Healthy vegans or healthy plant-based people, healthy people aren't spending 17 hours in the kitchen a day because we're too busy with our lives, balancing our health, our families, our jobs. So I want to give you my top hacks and things that you can do to be able to save time, save energy. Now, of course, I talk about exercise, both intentional and unintentional exercise, and how you can help burn more calories, i.e., how you can be a fat burning machine. I give you my main big top tips, and of course, describe different food labels and so much more for you guys. So anyway, I don't want to be banging on and harping on today, but there are so many ways in which you can be a healthy person, whether you are labeling yourself as a vegan, plant-based eater, whole food plant-based eater, right? That picture on the front is me. Okay. I don't mean to stand here and be like, hey, everyone needs to look at me. That's not what I'm talking about here, guys. What I'm talking about is if I have been able to go through 4 years of tweaking and finding out, experimenting, working with myself, working with my clients, finding what works as a vegan and how you can get and become the healthiest version of you, then I want to share that with you, right? This picture here, yes, I'm fucking proud of it. Yes, while I'm proud of it, while I'm currently proud, I'd take this off if I could, if I wasn't too cold, right? While I'm proud of my physique, I'm also proud of my energy. I'm also proud of my skin, my clarity, my memory. Okay, not quite so proud of my memory. It's not the best thing, right? It's not the best thing I've ever had going for me. But I have been able to get to a place where I am the healthiest. Guys, I used to nap 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day I used to nap. Okay. When done right, a vegan diet not only is incredibly beneficial for the animals, the environment, but it's incredibly beneficial for yourself, for your own health, for your longevity. But there is a way that you can do it right, and there is a way that you can do it wrong. And so I want to help dispel all of those myths, show you how you can build strength, hit personal bests time and time again, start and find new passions, new sports. I want to show you how you can be this best version of you while creating maximum input, while creating maximum results in the world by advocating a vegan lifestyle. But I want you to be doing it right in a way that it works for you. So the guide that I've been talking about today is completely free. Just put the word guide below. I will send that to you. And if you too want to be the healthiest version of you, you want to be a healthy vegan, I can send that guide through to you. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I shall see you very soon. Take care. Bye.